Life in the small village was a constant battle. For Arjun, a farmer with hands as tough as old leather, it was a war he was losing. He worked the same land his father and grandfather had worked. He planted the same crops, wheat and corn. Year after year, the routine was the same. The sun beat down on his back. The rains were never quite right. Sometimes they came too late. Sometimes they washed everything away. His energy was endless, but the results were always small. The earth was tired, and so was he. He fought hard, but nature always had the upper hand. The harvest was a time of anxiety, not joy. Arjun would look at his meager crops. The grains were small. The cobs of corn were thin. He knew it would not be enough. His family depended on this land. His 2 children needed food, clothes, and books for school. His wife, Meera, worked beside him, her face etched with worry. They owed money to the local moneylender. The debt grew bigger each year, like a shadow that never left their side. Selling the harvest barely covered their costs. It was a cycle of struggle, a trap that seemed impossible to escape. Every day was a test of survival. Arjun would wake before the sun. He would toil until the moon rose high in the sky. His muscles ached. His spirit was weary. He saw other farmers in the village facing the same fight. They were all trapped in a tradition that no longer fed them. The world was changing, but their methods were not. They prayed for rain. They prayed for good prices, but prayers alone could not fill their empty pockets. The land was giving less and less. It was a slow, painful defeat, and it was happening right before his eyes. He would often sit by the edge of his field at dusk. The setting sun painted the sky in brilliant colors. But Arjun saw no beauty. He only saw the end of another hard day. He felt the weight of his family's future on his shoulders. He was a good man, a hard worker, but it was not enough. He was failing them. The thought was a heavy stone in his heart. He knew something had to change. He just didn't know what. He was lost in a desert of his own making, and there was no map to guide him out. The village elders offered their advice. It was always the same. "Work harder, Arjun," they would say. "The land will provide if you show it respect." But Arjun was already working as hard as any man could. He respected the land, but respect didn't pay the bills. Others were less kind. They whispered behind his back. "He is not a good farmer," some said. "His father was better." These words were like sharp stones. They hurt more than the thorns in the fields. The doubt from others started to creep into his own mind. Maybe they were right. His friends, who had also known only farming, started to give up. Some moved to the big city to find work in factories. They wrote letters home, telling tales of steady wages. "Come with us, Arjun," one friend urged. "There is no future here. This land is cursed." The idea was tempting. A life without the constant worry of weather and failing crops sounded like a dream. Meera, his wife, saw the despair in his eyes. She worried for him. She knew he loved the land, but she also knew it was breaking him, piece by piece. One evening, the moneylender came to their small hut. His voice was cold and hard. He demanded his money. He threatened to take their land. Arjun felt a cold fear grip him. Losing the land would be like losing a part of himself. It was his identity, his heritage. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, the moneylender's threats echoing in his ears. Was it time to quit? Was it time to admit defeat and become another faceless worker in a crowded city? The thought filled him with a deep sadness. He felt completely alone in his struggle. The path ahead was dark and uncertain. It seemed like every door was closing. The whispers of doubt grew louder in his head. "You are a failure," they seemed to say. "Give up." He was at his lowest point, standing on the edge of a cliff. He could either jump into the unknown of the city or fall into the abyss of debt. He needed a sign, a glimmer of hope. He needed something to hold on to, a reason to keep fighting. The will to survive is strong, but even the strongest will can be broken. One day, while walking at the barren edge of the village, Arjun noticed something. It was a plant he had seen many times before. It grew wild in the driest, rockiest parts of the land where nothing else survived. The local people called it ghostweed. They considered it useless. Its leaves were thick and waxy, and it had small purple flowers. Animals didn't eat it. It couldn't be used for firewood. It was just there. A stubborn survivor in a harsh world. Most farmers pulled it out and threw it away, cursing it for taking up space. Arjun, however, saw something different that day. He was tired of failure. He was looking for any small sign of success. He noticed how this plant thrived without any care. It survived the scorching sun. It lived through the long droughts. It didn't need rich soil or constant water. While his precious wheat withered and died, this useless weed stood tall and strong. A thought sparked in his mind. What if this plant's strength was its value? What if its ability to survive was its secret? It was a wild idea, a desperate flicker of hope. He went to the village library, a small, dusty room with old books. He searched for information about the ghostweed. It took him days. Finally, he found a small entry in an old botany book. The plant was not called ghostweed. Its scientific name was Aloe barbadensis Miller. The book said it was known in other parts of the world for its medicinal properties. The gel inside its thick leaves could be used in skin creams, juices, and health products. It was a plant that healed. Suddenly, the useless weed didn't seem so useless anymore. Arjun felt a surge of excitement he hadn't felt in years. This could be it. This could be the answer. He read everything he could find. The plant was in high demand in international markets. Companies paid good money for high-quality aloe vera gel. And the best part, it grew perfectly in the exact conditions of his village: hot, dry, and with poor soil. It was as if nature had left a hidden treasure right at his doorstep. Everyone else had ignored it. They saw a weed. He was starting to see a field of gold. With a newfound sense of purpose, Arjun made a decision. He would clear a small section of his land. He would not plant wheat or corn. He would plant the ghostweed. When he told his family, Mira was worried. It was a huge risk. They had so little, and he was gambling with it. "Arjun, we know nothing about this plant," she said, her voice full of fear. "What if it fails? What if no one wants to buy it?" Her concerns were valid. It was a leap into the complete unknown. It went against generations of tradition. The news of Arjun's plan spread through the village like wildfire. The reaction was not supportive. People laughed at him. "Arjun has finally lost his mind." They chuckled amongst themselves at the market. "He's going to farm weeds." The village elders shook their heads in disapproval. "This is foolishness," one said to him directly. "You will bring ruin upon your family. Stick to what you know." The mockery was relentless. He became the village joke. Children would point at him and call him the weed farmer. The isolation was intense. Despite the ridicule, Arjun held on to his belief. He felt it deep in his gut. This was the right path. He remembered the feeling of hopelessness, and he knew he could not go back to that. This risk, as big as it was, felt better than the certainty of slow failure. He would rather fail trying something new than succeed at slowly starving. He gathered the wild aloe plants from the surrounding wasteland. He carefully prepared the soil, not to enrich it, but to mimic its natural sandy environment. This was a new kind of farming. The work was lonely. No one offered to help. He was an outcast, pursuing a crazy dream. Every laugh, every doubtful glance felt like a physical blow, but it also fueled his determination. He would prove them all wrong. He had to. His family's future depended on it. This was his one shot. He poured all his energy, all his hope, into this small patch of land filled with spiky green plants. It was his act of defiance against tradition, against fate, and against the crushing weight of expectation. It was a gamble, and he was all in. Growing the aloe was a lesson in patience. It was not like his old crops, which grew and were harvested in a single season. The aloe plants grew slowly, stubbornly. They required very little water, which was a blessing, but they demanded time. For the first year, there was nothing to sell. The leaves were too small. He had to wait for them to mature. Meanwhile, his family's financial situation grew worse. He had to take more loans, promising to pay them back with the profits from his miracle crop. The moneylender laughed, but he gave him the money, charging him even higher interest. The challenges were constant. At first, he didn't know how to properly care for the plants. Some developed a strange fungus. He spent nights reading his old botany book by candlelight, trying to find a solution. He learned to identify sick plants and remove them before they infected others. He learned that they needed some shade during the hottest part of the day. He built simple shelters from sticks and old cloth. He was not just a farmer anymore. He was a scientist, an inventor, and a guardian. He was learning the plants' language. The second year was just as difficult. The plants were bigger, but still not ready. The village mockery continued. "See? 2 years and nothing," people would say. His family is starving because of his pride. Arjun learned to ignore them. He focused on his work. He saw progress, even if no one else did. The leaves were getting thicker, heavier. He could see the precious gel inside. He knew he was getting closer. Mira, seeing his unwavering dedication, started to believe. She helped him, tending to the plants with a gentle hand. Her support was his lifeline. By the third year, the plants were finally mature. They were magnificent, tall, with thick, heavy leaves filled with gel. His small field looked like a green fortress. But now, a new problem arose. Who would buy them? The local market traders had no interest. "What will we do with this?" they asked, shrugging. Arjun was a farmer with a harvest he couldn't sell. For a moment, the old despair returned. Had he come all this way for nothing? But he refused to give up. He had survived the doubt, the mockery, and the long wait. He would survive this too. Arjun knew the local market was a dead end. His vision was bigger. He had to reach the international buyers he had read about. But how? He didn't even own a telephone. He used his last bit of borrowed money to travel to the nearest city. He went to an internet cafe, a place he had never been before. With the help of the young man running the shop, he sent emails to dozens of cosmetic and health food companies abroad. He attached photos of his beautiful, healthy aloe plants. He described his organic farming methods. Then he went home and waited. Weeks turned into a month. There was no reply. The hope that had carried him for 3 years began to fade. The moneylender was threatening him again. The village whispers grew louder. Maybe he really was a fool. He was sitting outside his hut one afternoon, feeling the familiar weight of defeat, when a boy from the village came running. "Arjun! There is a man from the city here to see you. He has a car." Arjun's heart leaped. A car in their small village was a major event. He rushed to the village square. A man in a smart suit stepped out of the car. He introduced himself as a representative for a large international cosmetics company. He had received Arjun's email. He was impressed by the photos and the story. He wanted to see the farm for himself. Arjun led him to his field of aloe. The man's eyes widened in surprise. He walked among the plants, touching the thick leaves. He cut one open and examined the rich gel inside. "This is incredible," the man said. "The quality is outstanding. We have never seen plants this healthy." The man made him an offer on the spot. He wanted to buy Arjun's entire harvest, and he wanted to sign a contract for the next 5 years. The price he offered was more money than Arjun's family had seen in their entire lives. It was more than he had ever dared to dream. Arjun stood speechless, his eyes filling with tears. He looked at his hands, rough and calloused from years of hard work. He looked at his field of useless weeds. All the struggle, all the ridicule, all the patience. It had all led to this moment. He took a deep breath and accepted the offer. The news of Arjun's success hit the village like a monsoon storm. No one was laughing anymore. They were stunned. The weed farmer was now the richest man in the village. The first thing Arjun did was pay back the moneylender in full. Then he bought new clothes for his family and books for his children. He built a proper house with strong walls and a solid roof. Mira no longer had a look of worry on her face. She smiled a true, happy smile. His life had changed overnight, but Arjun himself remained the same humble, hard-working man. His success did not stop with his family. He saw the struggle in the eyes of the other farmers. He knew their pain. He didn't hoard his knowledge. He taught them how to cultivate the aloe vera. He helped them get contracts with the same international buyer. He organized a cooperative so they could sell their product together and get a fair price. He showed them that changing their crops could change their lives. The fields of failing wheat and corn were gradually replaced by thriving fields of green aloe. The entire village was transforming. The village prospered. With the new income, they built a new school. They dug a deep well so everyone had access to clean water. The young people who had left for the city started to come back. There were good jobs for them at home now, working in the aloe fields and in the new processing facility Arjun helped set up. The village that was once dying was now full of life and hope. It was a community reborn, all because one man dared to look at a useless weed and see a field of opportunity. Arjun's story is a powerful reminder. Survival is not just about enduring the hardship you know, it's about having the courage to face the unknown. He teaches us that sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in plain sight, dismissed by everyone as worthless. True strength is believing in yourself when no one else does. It's about taking that risk, embracing a new idea, and having the patience to see it through. Never be afraid to walk your own path. You never know, it might just lead you and everyone around you to a better world.